Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan with Skyline Acres. So, as you can see here, we have us an old but new to us piece of equipment. This week we bought us a 2-basket hay tedder. So come with me while we get it unloaded, and I'll show you the rest. All right guys, so here is the new piece of equipment, all unloaded off the trailer, hooked to the tractor, and obviously, as you can tell, we bought us a 2-star hay tedder. Let me flip the camera around and we'll talk about some things. Okay, so here's the tedder. So we've been making hay on the homestead for 6 or 7 years now on this homestead. And we have had and we use a tedder. So the question is, well, Ryan, why did you buy this tedder? Well, let me walk over here and show you what we've been using. So here is the hay tedder that we've been using for the past 6 years. This is a Peckway, and it's called a tedder fluffer. Obviously, a lot of you guys have never seen them. So these are made on the East Coast, I think in Pennsylvania, and they really didn't make their way past the East Coast, from what I can tell from you guys. Not have seen them before, but there's quite a few of them around here. They're kind of a dime a dozen. You can get them pretty cheap. Again, they are a Peckway, but they kind of look like a hay rake, but they're straight. They're not at a 45-degree angle or anything. And what they do, just very quickly, you got your swath that comes out of your hay mound, and it's coming down here, and you drive right over your swath. And this thing here takes your swath and just flips it. So the bottom's now on the top and so forth. So the bottom's now exposed to sun and can dry. These things work great. Let me tell you, if you guys can find these for a good deal, they usually are a good deal. If you can find them, they're really cheap, they're easy to run, there's not a lot of parts to them. And they truly do a good job. They dry your hay, which is what they're designed for. But let me tell you a couple reasons why I wanted a basket type tedder. Well, number one, I always worried that, so when you use this thing, when you've tedded your whole field, it looks like just like it did when you started. You basically have swaths of hay, lines of hay all down through your field, and it looks like you just cut it with the hay bine almost. It doesn't scatter the hay all over the place, and I always got scared that if we were to get hay downpoured on, which, knock on wood, we've never had it downpoured on, but if we did, we really wouldn't have a way to just scatter it all over the field and really dry like a normal tedder. You could still use this. I believe it would just, it would invert the swaths, and maybe it would work, but it did always scare me a little bit. Number two, this is a kind of a minor one, but the tires on these are on the outside of the unit. So, and it might just be this size tedder with my hay bine and all this different stuff isn't a good match, but so you're running over your swath here with your tractor. Well, this wheel over here is almost running in the swath that you've already tedded. And again, it looks just like a swath because this thing doesn't scatter it out. So this wheel is kind of, you really got to watch this wheel to make sure you're not running it in the swath that you you just tedded. It's kind of minor. It's definitely avoidable, but it is something that happens. The other thing is, and I tell you, this is minor until you've done it a few years, and it just can be a little irritating, is it's kind of hard to see where you've been, where you've tedded. So like I said, normal tedder scatters the hay all over the place. I mean, you can easily tell where you've been. This kind of tedder, you start with a swath out of the hay bine, and it ends up looking like a swath out of the hay bine. And you might say, well, shouldn't it fluff it up and all? It does, and that's the whole point of it. But when you've done drove around the whole field, let's say you fluffed it up and the hay's all up and tinted up and everything. By the time you drive around the field, come back around, well, and you're starting a new windrow, this over here is kind of started to, settle a little bit, and it's hard to see where you've been. Matter of fact, I've had to, whenever I make like a 90-degree turn to kind of get on a new row, I kind of have to stand up on the tractor and see. And if you have light hay, it's really hard to see where you've been. So anyways, I'm gonna leave it at that on this. They work great. If you guys can find them, buy them. They truly work great, and they dry your hay good. All right, so we're back here at this tedder again. This is the new one that we bought, new to us. I'll give you the story on it. You now know why I wanted one of these. And I've kind of kept my eyes open for a little while, just on Marketplace and Craigslist, here and there. And sometimes I won't look for months, and then other times I'll look and so forth. Just happened to be on there the other day. This one popped up on Marketplace, and I got to looking. I was like, man, that thing's in pretty good shape. Because, I mean, tedders are one of them things that people beat up. And I said, they actually were selling a tractor with it as a package. And I messaged them, said, how much do you want for the tedder? Or would you sell the tedder separate? They said, yep, $500. I said, well, shoot, let me come look at it. Went to go look at it and was disappointed. There's some, I'm gonna call them farmer fixes on this thing, that I wasn't happy with initially. I slept on it, and then a couple days later ended up buying it. But anyway, so this one, from what I can tell, is a Walton / Galfrey, I think is how you say it, Galfre. They've also seemed to go by the name First Choice tedders, but typically I see them as Walton or Galfre. They all look about the same. They all basically use the same gearbox. I mean, they're all about the same. But anyways, so guys, this is a $500 farmer special tedder, and since I've been looking at them, at least in this area, these little 2 baskets are going anywhere from $800 to $1,500, and this one was $500. And again, it's got some stuff on it, so it's got some fixes on it that are questionable. So let's take a look at this thing and look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right, so the good on this was they put all new tines on it last year. Now they have used it for a cutting or two, but they're new tines, not missing any. So that's one thing on the good. I mean, that's about $100 there. They had it inside, and it does look to be stored inside. I mean, it's in pretty good shape as far as like that goes. It was cheap, so it was $500. Yeah, I haven't found anything that I've seen in the $700 to $800 range is beat all to heck. So that was good. It runs good. This thing runs quiet as a mouse. The guy had it hooked to a tractor there, and he ran at full speed. It doesn't make any noise. The other thing is, it looks to have a new PTO shaft on it, and that's a positive and a negative, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I mean, it's the guards there, everything. Most of them I've seen in the $800 range. The guards missing. This is all rusted. Doesn't look like it would slide back and forth. All of that. So, what is the bad on this thing? Well, I believe, so for one thing, when I looked at these on the internet, none of them have this plate down here. And this plate looks really good. Almost looks factory. When you look at it, you can tell it's not. And it's welded in there too. I mean, decent welds, you know. So I'm not sure why somebody added that plate. If you guys would know, let me know. I was thinking maybe hay was getting up in here or something. So that's one thing. I'm just not quite sure about the plate. But then I think a lot of the issues around this thing stem around the new drive shaft, the plate, and that back there. And I think what happened was, for some reason, something happened to the PTO shaft, the original one. None of these come with a slip clutch. No, I haven't seen one yet on the internet that did. So it almost looks to me like the order of events was, the plate was here for whatever reason. They needed a new PTO shaft. It almost looks like one off a bush hog with the slip clutch. Well, when you angle this thing down, this here needs clearance now because you've got a PTO clutch here. So that's why they've cut this out here. And I've ran it and all on my tractor and it's fine. Like the cutout, nothing touches now. Probably my biggest concern with this whole tedder was what's going on back here. Let me see if I can get a view of it there. Can't really get a view, but I was concerned with this. This looks like a piece of gasket material. And I asked the guy about it and he didn't do it. But he said he guessed somebody replaced the seal or whatever, and they lost whatever piece went there or whatever. Well, I was real worried about that. I mean, this looks hodgepodged up. But got to looking on the internet, and it looks to me like, so the seal in here, behind here, there's a big C-clip type snap ring as far as to what holds all that in. And this is my theory. I think this is nothing but where a big PTO shroud guard went. If you look on the internet at these when they came new, I'm sure y'all seen it on bush hogs and stuff, but there's a big shroud here that mounts to your gearbox, and it comes up over your clutch and everything and covers all this up, and it's stationary, and that thing bolts in here. Well, these things came with it new, which is why them bolt holes and all are there, I believe. And I think when they added this shaft, and in turn with that, the clutch here was all part of it. I think the clutch was probably too big for the original shroud that was over top of all this, because you would have just had a universal joint just going into here. So I think they had to take the shroud off. Well, the shroud, you know, it comes in and it comes in and it comes down here and it bolts in here. So I mean, if you take the shroud off, I'm not exactly sure why they even thought they needed to put anything there, other than keeping hay and stuff from getting wrapped up in your seal. So I thought about that and everything. If you guys have any other ideas, let me know. But I don't think it's anything to do with the seal and any of that. I think at this point it's basically there to keep hay out. But there was a PTO shield there. Alright, so we've talked about the plate, the shaft, which is kind of nice, but I think it led to these other things. But that's the main thing, is this area here. There is a few other weird things all of this works good. It's really tight feeling. I mean, when the gears and all feel really good. It is going to need new tires, so I'm probably just going to put new ones on it, and they're a small one. You can get them pretty cheap. The only other thing he said, and he told me everything that he knew about it. He said sometimes these holes would waller out, and he would replace them with bigger bolts. Because see, your tine goes all the way up into there. You know, I don't love fixes like that, but my guess is they got loose and walled out. So I'm probably gonna take all these nuts out and put Loctite on them and see if that helps. But I don't really think it affects anything. I mean, it's just a bigger bolt. The only other thing I've seen is just some weird things. Like, let's see if I can find one. Yeah, let me go over here. So on these here, where this gearbox bolts up to this is kind of what the original bolts look like, okay? You can see there, same thing. But if you come over here, if you guys have any ideas to why you would even need to replace these, let me know. But you come in here, they've taken, looks like different bolts, and it looks like they were longer, just something they had laying around, so they had to space them out a little bit with lock washers. But I don't know, I mean, you would think, I don't know, maybe they just came out. You would think if they hit something here and the bolts broke, that this would be all tore up. So I mean, none of this is really tore up, so I don't really know. And actually, it's the front two bolts on the other side too that look like they've been replaced. Maybe, well, yeah, the bottom one's kind of silver, but the back ones aren't. So I don't know, maybe y'all let me know. Maybe they're prone to just coming out, and those were the bolts they had. But anyways, that's the good and the bad and the ugly on this thing. So I've got the tractor running, PTO's engaged on the tedder. I mean, this thing is quiet as a mouse for as far as the gearboxes and all go. I'm gonna be quiet and y'all listen. Let me turn up the RPMs on the tractor. There you go. I mean, that's not PTO speed, but it's getting up there. But I mean, that's it. So it does run pretty smooth. Let me go ahead and cut the tractor off. So guys, I do think, I mean, you know, look, it cost me $500. If it was junk, fine, you know, I'll take a loss. But I think it's decently solid. All right, guys, well, that's it for this video. If you guys like this kind of content, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel to see more content like it. Thank you.